The moderators tonight are going to be Gilbert Woolard and Steve Ward, and Gilbert can go first.
As Miss Edwina said, we are very proud to have you people to come to this meeting. You can be asked questions and give us your opinions, and we're very much thankful for that. We are. And so I guess at this time, we'll just go ahead and get started. We may want to talk more later, but Chris Rowland is a timekeeper. And what we have here, I guess you all read the letter. You give a 3-minute opening, and then 5-minute question and answer. And after all the candidates had the opportunity, be given a 2-minute to come back at the closing comments. Everybody happy with that? Satisfied? Like I say, if Chris calls time, hopefully he'll give you a little grace time. The first one I have here on my list is Barbara Stocker. Is she here? Not here. Okay. The next one, Jason Smith, and he's not here, is he? Boy, they're missing some fun, I'd say. Rick Van Dieven. I think I see one that I met here, Doug Inyard.
Did we get to take their time since they didn't show? Well, thank you, Farm Bureau, for hosting this event and giving us all the time to get together and ask some questions and participate in our government. That's what we need more of, is people participating. I wish this room was absolutely filled and there were people outside, but that's not the days that we live in. A long time ago, a very smart fellow by the name of George Washington said these words. He said that government is not eloquent, it is not reason, it is force. Like fire, it is a dangerous servant and a fearsome master. George was a pretty smart guy. Another fellow made a quote that I'd like to share with you tonight, and he's still living. His name is Judge Andrew Napolitano. He says in his book, Constitutional Chaos, government is not your friend. And let me say that again for some emphasis. Government is not your friend. And if you don't watch it, it will burn you, just like George Washington said. A week and a half ago, I attended a Liberty Summit, Life, Liberty, and Property Summit in Jefferson City. There were a lot of speakers there. One of them was Senator Lamping. He's on his way out. And one of the things that he said is something that I hear everywhere I go, and that is that government is not going to give power back to the people. The only thing that is going to give you back the power is you, we, the people. We still have a government that's supposed to be run by the consent of the governed, we, the people. No one in government now, whether they were elected or an employee, has a vested interest in change. Thank you. They all have a vested interest in maintaining the status quo. And this goes whether they're an employee or an elected official. This goes whether they're state or federal. 30 years ago, we heard a lot about unfunded mandates. We don't hear anything about unfunded mandates anymore because the federal government is now bribing the states. Well, they're bribing them with money from our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren. We are pushing an $18 trillion debt. Those of us in this room, no matter what your age, we're not going to make much of a headway on that. Right now, Bill Gates' entire fortune would fund the government 15 days. We've got to stop the spending. So I think I'm about to run out of time, and I will say one thing. I'm with Doug Inyard with the Constitution Party. I'm asking you to do something different this time. vote Constitution Party. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Inyard. And next, we have a young lady here, Miss Terry Hampton.
Thank you. And thank you for inviting me. You know, I was born and have lived all my life in Howe County. I grew up there on a farm. My mom and dad actually grew up during the Great Depression years, and my father served in World War II. And when he came back from service, my mom and dad moved to southern Missouri where my grandparents lived, and we had a farm. Dad raised cattle and later feeder pigs, and we were basically self-sufficient. Always had a big garden. We lived off the resources of the land. We always picked blackberries, and we had walnut trees, and we fished in our ponds. We had a milk cow and chickens, and we were self-sufficient. And Mom canned a lot of food and made most of our clothes. And by many economic standards, we would have been considered poor. But it didn't seem that way, because even though we didn't have a lot of luxuries, we did have everything we needed. In just a few decades, those times have changed. And changed because it is really difficult for young families to own 150 acres, and the cost of living is so expensive. But it has also changed because we have elected representatives who are not representing us. We talk often of entitlements, but I contend that those with a true sense of entitlement are the ones in the halls of Congress. They make rules for us that don't apply to them, and they have squeezed out the middle class in favor of special interests and big money supporters. By our apathy and lack of civic involvement, we have allowed that to happen. I had all but given up on politics until I realized that's the problem. Too many of us have given up, and we have lost our voice. In politics, even those with good intentions, who are candidates in the two-party system, give up their freedom to say what is best for their constituents and for our country. That is why, to represent us, I am an independent, unaffiliated with a party and with no obligations outside the district. I am a citizen representative, and that is the way it should be. Ordinary people representing their districts. I want to work with you to move our country forward. As I've been traveling the 30 counties in this wonderful, diverse district, I've discovered that there is much agreement, even when it seems like there's not. We're all tired of a non-functioning government and an overpaid Congress not doing its job. I've heard the phrase, fed up, an awful lot lately. We are not being represented, and our values are being lost in a sea of strife and greed. Big money controls our country, creating divisions among us and distractions with issues that Congress never intends to address. It's time to face head-on the real problem in this country. We have been betrayed by the two-party system. We, the people, are not being represented, and the Washington establishment doesn't intend to do anything about it, so we must. Let's work together. We, the people, make this country great, and we always have.
Just a minute, Ms. Terry. I've been advised that I'll to give you a 2-minute question and answer, and I'll have to call Mr. Inyard back after
Okay.
you. But would you like that?
Oh,
time
sure.
now?
Sure.
Anybody have any questions at this time?
I could talk for 2 more minutes.
Okay. You can do that.
That's okay. I think I was done. But I would be glad to answer any questions at any time later if you'd like to visit. I would like that.
Would you like to come back up? Question or another talk period, 2 minutes?
Is it 1 minute or 2?
2 minutes.
2 minutes.
Is that enough?
Is that our close? Was that supposed
It's a 5-minute question.
Oh, okay. All right.
Oh, you're ready for
Yeah,
5-minute
5
questions?
minutes.
Okay.
Question.
5-minute questions?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Questions? the candidates standing here at the microphone waiting to answer any question you have that's about the Constitution, history. I will, if you don't have questions, I'll just start telling you about my journey. I was just a few years ago, just like you. I was out there. I was frustrated with my government, and I probably ought to be talking into the microphone. I wasn't happy with government, and it just occurred to me that if nobody else is going to fix things, then I'm going to. I'm going to get involved. So I went looking for a party, and because a schism had developed between me and the party that I had historically been affiliated with, and that's the same thing I'm hearing all over the district. Is people? It doesn't matter whether they have historically been Republican, historically been Democrat. They're frustrated with government and they're frustrated with their party. So when I went looking for a party, I found the Constitution Party. And I got involved with them last year in the special election. I got the nomination to run in the special election for the 8th Congressional District. I hung up the phone and said, now what do I do? So it's been a real learning curve. I knew that running on the Constitution Party ticket, somebody out there was probably going to try and ask me a question, set me up. And I thought, well, I think I know the Constitution pretty well, and I know history pretty well. I've kind of been a history buff all my life. But somewhere out there, somebody's going to try to trip me up. So I began studying. Wow, the last year and a half, what I have learned that I did not know. We all know some of the founders. We know Benjamin Franklin, we know George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, maybe James Madison. But how about Fisher Ames? Anybody out there know Fisher Ames? Anybody out there really like the Second Amendment? He's the guy that wrote it. How about having a two-house legislative chamber? Senate and a House. That was the idea of Roger Sherman from Connecticut. We don't hear about Roger Sherman anymore. There's two very important people that we just don't know about. In fact, my father's about to turn 80 years old, and he didn't get an adequate education in Constitution and history either. So I'm going to steal a little bit of my own thunder from my closing. We have to rediscover who we once were as a people and determine in our hearts to become that people again. And I'm going to leave just a couple minutes on the clock. If there's no questions, I'm going to leave a little time on the clock. Thank you.
Next on our list is for State Rep, Ryan Holder.
It's good to see you all here, and I appreciate the invitation by the Farm Bureau to come and speak to y'all tonight. My name is Ryan Holder. I'm running for state representative in the 151st District. I'm not a lot like these other guys. I'm kind of frustrated with this way things seem to be going. I'm a Christian, okay? I go to church on Sunday. I have values. I have core beliefs. I look to people and I see people that seem to need help, and I try to help them. And I see the working class of this area and all over this state needing a lot of help. And like I said, I'm a Christian. I go to church on Sunday not just to be seen. I go because I believe that Jesus Christ was an inherent Son of God, was born of the Virgin Mary, was crucified, I lost my train there, suffered under Pontius Pilate, was crucified, dead, and buried, and the third day he rose from heaven and sat at the right hand of God the Father Almighty. That's why I go to church on Sunday. And a lot of people ask me, well, how can you be a Christian and be a Democrat? I've been asked that question by a lot of people. And you know what my response to that is? Because I have to eat till the rapture. You know, I just don't see the political system working towards anybody except people like Alec. Do you all know who Alec is? American Legislative Exchange Council. You know what exchange means? You know, you scratch your back, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. You know, there are a bunch of lawyers hired by big corporations that spend a lot of money to hire politicians to push their agenda. And when they push things, they don't push them for all of us, they push them for themselves. And one of those things is the things that the Farm Bureau backed, and that was the right to farm. You know what? We already had the right to farm. Now they're talking about the right to work. Who doesn't have the right to work? Everybody has the right to work. And I just see things going in such a poor direction that I'd like to go to Jefferson City and stand up on the floor of the House and say, you know what? This is not good for people. This is not right for the people that you're trying to represent. And I'd like to try to do a better job than what it seems going on in Jefferson City right now. So I'd appreciate your support and your vote. Thank you. Are there?
Any questions?
Now, we have 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Anybody? Nobody? All right.
It's a quiet group, isn't it?
It is. I'm glad I did such a good job of explaining myself that you didn't need to ask any questions. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Ryan. Next, we have another young lady, Miss Tyler Rowland.
I'm gonna have to get this mic really close. If you can't hear me, please let me know. Okay. Is that better? Can you hear me now? Okay. Thank you very much, and I do apologize about my voice. Twice a year, the allergies of Southeast Missouri gets to me. I was recently elected to fulfill the remainder of the term as our current state representative, and I was privileged enough to be able to represent our district during the veto session, and for that I thank you. I am a committed, principled, conservative, and I am willing to stand up for our Southeast Missouri values. I have the life experiences and the maturity that will enable me to unwaveringly serve you and our district. I have the tenacity to fight for what we believe in and for what we value. I have been a lifelong resident of Southeast Missouri. I'm the daughter of a local farmer, was raised here my entire life, and I'm the 4th generation Stoddard County-an. I've learned many valuable lessons as I was growing up, that Southeast Missouri is a great place to live and a great place to raise a family in. I know what our values are. We have the common sense values in this district that are needed in Jefferson City. We have a diverse area with an incredibly talented group of people. We have industrial and agricultural businesses, both large and small. And we are very fortunate to have the great schools and great healthcare facilities right here that we do have. Through my own personal experience of being a parent of 2 daughters and having been a single parent for a good number of years, I understand firsthand the struggles of raising our children. I know that we all want the best for our children and our grandchildren, and we want them to stay right here in Southeast Missouri when they graduate. And I will work to make sure that our kids have the educational opportunities right here without having to go far away from home, as well as the job availability for when they graduate so that they don't have to move away. Working to encourage more job opportunities for our family, jobs that will actually support a family. Working to support businesses to reduce the overburdensome regulations that are not needed. And expansion of businesses will be a priority for me as your state representative. Our farmers and our businesses have a product that they need to get to market. In order to do so, we must repair our roads and make sure that our locks and dams on the Mississippi River also get repaired. I will work hard and fight to see that these things are done. With my experience of having taught in our public schools for 8 years, I understand how hard our teachers work to make sure that our children have the very best education that they can possibly have. I will work to make sure that their job, it does not become any more difficult than what it is already through the interference of legislation that has been, am I out of time? Okay, that has been. And with that, I will stop since I'm out of time. Does anyone have any questions for me? Is it okay to give a close real quick? Okay. 2-minute close? All right. Awesome. Well, then I will just finish real quick. As I said, I will work hard to support our teachers to decrease the regulations and interference that they are dealing with. As a member of the NRA, I support our gun rights, and I will stand up for them. In the 151st, we value life, and every innocent life is important, and I will stand up for the pro-life values in Jefferson City. I will work to protect our senior citizens from fraud, and also work to ensure that they get the very best health care that they can possibly get. As a nurse, I understand the issues that are facing our healthcare system, and I will work to limit the impact that we are seeing right now. As a wife of a retired Army soldier, I support our military. I lived through his deployment to Afghanistan, so I understand the struggles of the active duty and the retired military family. Southeast Missouri has the potential to be a leader in state politics, and we can set the tone for things across the state of Missouri. I will work hard to make sure that in Southeast Missouri, the 151st District is represented well, and I will work hard to serve you and to serve everyone in our district, no matter what their political side is, because we can all work together across the line to make sure that Southeast Missouri is a leader across our state. Thank you.
Next is our Associate Circuit Judge from the Division II, Mr. Joe Satterfield.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here. I want to thank Farm Bureau for allowing us this opportunity. My name is Joe Satterfield. I'm the judge of the criminal and juvenile divisions here in Stoddard County. Just last week, I was watching the news on KFES TV, and a reporter announced that Sykeston, Poplar Bluff, and Cape Girardeau had made the top 10 list of the most dangerous towns or cities in the state of Missouri. Now here in Stoddard County, we're fortunate. We're fortunate that we live in the safest county in southeast Missouri. Unlike many of our neighboring counties, Stoddard County is not plagued by violence in our streets, random shootings, armed robberies, or other serious crimes. All of us can safely walk through any neighborhood in Stoddard County, day or night, without fear of becoming a statistic. A little bit about what I do. When the sheriff or the highway patrol or the local police arrest an individual, that person enters the criminal justice system. In Stoddard County, I am the judge responsible for making a determination, reviewing whether those arrest warrants should be issued, and if they are issued, what bond should be set. In setting a bond, I look at the severity of the crime. I look at the probable cause statement issued by the police to see the circumstances of the alleged crime, and I consider the criminal history of the particular individual who's been charged. And many of these individuals I know from past experience, or law enforcement will know from past experience. Once the defendant enters the system and starts proceeding through the courts, the they're dealt with by the juries and the judges. And if found guilty, over 90% of the defendants will be sentenced by a Stoddard County judge and not a jury. For those reasons, I believe that voters should carefully consider the experience, the maturity, and the ability of a candidate who is seeking to be your judge. I have tried or presided over dozens of jury trials all over the state of Missouri. And because of my experience and the legal and judicial knowledge that I've acquired over the years, the Missouri Supreme Court often appoints me to act as special judge in difficult criminal cases. During my career, the Supreme Court has appointed me to preside over 8 murder cases and many other cases involving violent and dangerous criminals. Ladies and gentlemen, when you watch the local news or TV or read the local newspapers, take note of the violent crimes that are occurring around us. But more importantly, I'm going to ask that you take note and think about what's not occurring here in Stoddard County. The safety and security of our children and our schools and our communities requires or demands a judge with experience. I believe that over the years I have proven that I have the experience and the dedication to keep our children, schools, and families safe, and I pledge to you that if elected, I will continue to use my experience to make that a priority. I appreciate your time tonight, and I would greatly appreciate your vote November the 4th. Thank you. Are there any questions? I ran over, so I know my question time is going to be limited. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to respond to them. Thank you.
You know, I think this group is doing such a wonderful job at explaining and telling their side of the story. Must be the reason we have no questions. Is that true? But I'm real thankful it's going so well. And I don't believe Mr. Kelly's here tonight, is he?
I'm right here.
Oh, you're next. I'm sorry.
You can't skip me that easy.
Well, sorry.
Can everybody in the back hear me? Thank you. I'd like to thank the Farm Bureau for having us all here today. I'd like to thank my wife and kids for being with me throughout this campaign. My wife couldn't be here tonight. She's home with the kids. I'd like to start out by telling you a little bit about myself. I'm attorney Justin Kelly. I have a law practice in Dexter. I grew up on a farm 10 miles northwest of Dexter. I now live on a farm about 7 miles west of Bloomfield. I went to law school at Kansas City, where I practiced for the federal public defenders and the state public defenders under a special appointment power of the Supreme Court. I came back, practiced for 2 years in Dexter, and I've had my own law firm, or my own shingle, for 8 years. Judge Satterfield talked about the jury trials he's participated in or presided over. And I am one of the few attorneys in Southeast Missouri that has jury trial experience in the criminal system. And unlike a lot of attorneys who count their jury trial experience of they worked for an attorney who did jury trials and they helped him, I'm a solo practitioner. I am the only attorney in my firm. My jury trial experience, I have done 100% by myself. My jury trial experience has consisted of an A felony, dealing with a drug chase. The punishment on an A felony is 10 to 30 years. a 15-year charge, and then a 7-year charge. Judge Satterfield talked a lot about Stoddard County being, safer than some of the surrounding counties, and he seemed to take a lot of credit for that occurring. He was appointed 19 years ago, and when I think back 19 years ago, I certainly feel like the county was a lot safer and there was a lot less crime 19 years ago than currently. So we do have some disagreements about the current status of the criminal environment in the county. I've done juvenile law, criminal law, domestic law. I've done adoptions, probate court, real estate. Not only will the Supreme Court assign you to cases all over the state, all over Southeast Missouri, no matter who the judge is, judges in Stoddard County also have to be prepared to take assignments from our circuit judge. It's not enough with our circuit that has such a diverse set of cases to just specialize in 2 narrow areas. You have to be willing to take divorce cases, you have to be willing to take conflict order protection cases, real estate cases, child out of wedlock cases. I've had 10 years of broad-based experience handling all sorts of cases, and I can take any assigned case and do a phenomenal job with the expertise I've had with over a decade of legal experience. Thank you. Any questions?
Mr. Kelly?
Yes, Ms. Montgomery.
I'm a Republican.
Yes, ma'am. I am too.
Well, you wasn't, so why did you switch parties?
Well, I was raised in a Democrat family, and I used to be a Democrat. And when the Democrat Party adopted the policies of Barack Obama, I walked away from that party and went to the only party that accepts moderates and conservatives. And when I walked away from the Democrat Party, it's the best decision I ever made. My opponent has decided to stay in the Democrat Party.
We're glad to have you on the Republican ticket.
Thank you, Ms. Montgomery. Any other questions? Thank you.
I've made a few mistakes tonight, but I don't see Mr. Steve Mitchell. Did he come in anywhere? Okay. Next, we have our presiding commissioner at the present time, Greg Mathis. Mr. Mathis, we'd like to have you come up.
Good evening. I am Greg Mathis, and I am your Stoddard County Presiding Commissioner. I've served 3 terms as your Presiding Commissioner, and Stoddard County is one of the most financially stable counties in the state of Missouri. When I came into office, Stoddard County was $1.9 million in debt, and we eliminated that debt within 5 years. Stoddard County had $850,000 in cash reserve. We now have just a little bit shy of $3 million. We built the Stoddard County Government Building without borrowing any money. We paid no interest on that. Backing up to the Justice Center, whenever we, as a commission, eliminated that debt, we saved Stoddard County over $350,000 in interest payments by paying off early. Our next project that the Commission, if they go ahead and follow through with, will be an update of the Stoddard County Jail. Now more than ever, law enforcement needs all the help they can get, and Stoddard County Jail is over 30 years old and is in significant need of some repair. To pay for that, we already have $1.7 million put back in capital reserve that will be used for that. As presiding commissioner, I will not borrow any money to build or buy. As presiding commissioner, we will continue stable financial goals to make sure that we do not pass debt on to the next generation. One of the things I am proud of as presiding commissioner is that we have the power to do ordinances within the county. Stoddard County is one of the few counties in the state of Missouri that the commission has not made any ordinances that infringe upon property owner rights. Stoddard County has been blessed with good, solid elected officials through the years. And while I would like to sit up here and say that I had a lot to do with all of the financial blessings that we have, you also have to take and realize that the elected officials that we have, they're also very responsible with the monies that they are given. The money that we get through the commission is provided through a sales tax. The voters of Stoddard County voted into 1/2 cent sales tax, and that's how we fund the sheriff's office, the prosecuting attorney's office, our judicial system, the recorder, the collector. The money that you all pay into the collector goes into your school system, 911, road and bridge, people with disabilities, etc. One of the things that I'm also proud of is that I work very closely and have in the past with law enforcement. As many of you might realize or remember, at one time I was the Stoddard County coroner. And we'll stop right there. Does anyone have any questions? No questions?
Greg, I have.
Yes, sir. Gilbert.
With the money that you have available, is there any plans for bridges or different things that might be coming up?
Well, what we're doing right now, if you read the local newspaper, you'll find that in the last few months, at my recommendation, the Stoddard County Commission took $325,000 of money that we had in capital reserve or cash reserve, and we traded with Greene County for $650,000 of soft match credit. That credit's what we used for our local match in order to build bridges. Stoddard County has over 40 deficient bridges deemed so by MoDOT, and we're taking that money with the money that we have given to us by the federal government with BRO monies, and we're in the process of programming 10 deficient bridges in Stoddard County right now. S.H. Smith & Company, our local engineering firm out of Poplar Bluff, who's been doing some work for us, has given us a list of 6. Now they're going back to the drawing board with the other monies that we do have available to see what additional bridges we can do from that standpoint. There's not a county in the state of Missouri that's programming or building 10 bridges right now in their county. Most counties around here are only doing 1 or 2 a year. We're getting ready to do 10. That's big for our agriculture community. That's big for our folks that live out in the county. Other questions? Hearing none, I'll go ahead and I guess do my follow-up. What I was speaking about a while ago with the coroner's office, I'm very close with the coroner's office. The last 2 coroners that we have been associates of mine at my private business in Dexter at Rainey Mathis Funeral Home. What I've done in order to save the county's money is I provide health insurance for my employees at the funeral home. Stoddard County provides health insurance for their employees. I've kept the last 2 coroners on my health insurance plan, and the county has reimbursed me that amount. By doing that, it's saved the citizens of Stoddard County over $10,000 in insurance premiums that we've had within the coroner's office. I provide as a courtesy to the coroner's office a vehicle. I also provide to the coroner's office the cots and the necessary equipment that they need in order to run the office of coroner. To the best of my knowledge, there's not another private businessman or commissioner within the state of Missouri, especially within southeast Missouri, that will take that upon themselves to help fund a county office through a private business. One of the things that we're looking at in Stoddard County, or at least from my standpoint, that's going to be big for us coming up is going to be the 2015 budget. While in my mind we have a lot of cash in reserve, a couple of things could be very well working against us. In 2014, the state legislature passed a bill and sent to Governor Nixon a bill that was going to cost, according to the County Commissioners Association, was going to cost Stoddard County $350,000 in sales tax revenue. The governor vetoed it, and the legislature upheld that veto. The sponsor of that bill, the senator from Springfield, said he's going to go back to the drawing board and bring that bill back up to the Senate and to the House this next year for its approval. While we might not lose $350,000, there's a possibility that we could lose $150,000 or $200,000. Also, we have the use tax that's going to disappear in 2016. According to the Missouri Association of Counties, that's costing Stoddard County $150,000. And also, in the next couple of years, 2 to 3, maybe 4 years down the road, Stoddard County 911 is going to be coming to the Stoddard County Commission and asking for money because the people no longer have landlines in their house, and that's where they get their money from. They could come to us and be asking anywhere from $100,000 to $150,000. Those three things coupled is going to could put a strain on Stoddard County and our budget. We need to plan for that now, not 5 years down the road. That's why in the 2015 budget, I will not vote for a budget that's higher expense side than what we have currently in 2014. We're going to have to start making the cuts and prepare for what we have 2 to 3 years down the road. That being said, I appreciate you all being here tonight. I would certainly appreciate your vote as Stoddard County Presiding Commissioner. And one thing I will add, not particularly knowing the differences that Mr. Weeks and I have, I think that he and I would both agree that we both married better than what we should have. He's got a wonderful wife in Myra, and I certainly have a wonderful wife in Lisa. Thank you all for being here tonight.
Thank you. And next on our list is Mr. Cecil Weeks.
My name is Cecil Weeks, and first I would like to thank the Stoddard County Farm Bureau for hosting this event. Not being the present presiding commissioner, I don't have the record that Mr. Mathis has to talk about, so let me talk about myself and why I think that I'm just as qualified to be your next presiding commissioner. I'd like to first start talking to you a little bit about my family. Very important to me. My wife Myra, many of you know my wife Myra. Her maiden name was Myra Botch. Many of you might remember Mr. Neil Botch, who passed away in '93. Myra and I have been married 14 years now. We have 5 kids. We have Tara Botch-Zeller. She's a teacher at Jackson. Brad Botch, a teacher at Bernie. He's also the high school coach. Stephanie Botch-All, speech therapist, Burke, Virginia. We have Amy Weeks-Kirby. She's a teacher, second grade at Malden. Ashley Weeks-Meyer, a laboratory scientist at St. Joseph Hospital in St. Charles. So you can see we're surrounded by teachers. Meyer's a retired from teacher now. She was a kindergarten teacher when we first married. She's been retired now for about 7 years. We also have 10.4 grandchildren. And I say 10.4 because the 11th one is due in March. And I'll not go into all the names of all of them and where they're all at, but Meyer has a photo album on her phone if you'd like to see some pictures. But that's what brings me to Bernie. In 2000, Meyer and I married, and we decided to make our home in Stoddard County. We could have made it anywhere because we were going to build a new home, and we did. But we decided Bernie, Stoddard County is where we were going to spend the rest of our life. In the 1980s and 1990s, I lived in Malden. And while living in Malden and operating a business quality center, a furniture and appliance store, which I have operated for over 37 years, I served on many boards, president of the utility board, council member, and was mayor up until 2001 when our house was completed and we moved to Bernie. I think I have the qualifications necessary, the business experience necessary to be your next presiding commissioner. In closing, I'd like to, as I see I'm about to run out of time, I'd like to ask for your vote on November 4th to be your next presiding commissioner. Thank you. Do you have any questions? Thank you.
Next on my list is Mr. Joe Watson.
Well, I would also like to thank the Farm Bureau for hosting this. Also, the Dexter Church of Christ for letting us use their fine facility. I am your Stoddard County Clerk. I finished my first term. I was elected and began my term in 2011. And I've learned a lot in the past 4 years. As many of you know, I've owned a business prior to becoming the county clerk, and had an abstract and title business, so I was used to a lot of detailed work, and that has also been the case as your county clerk. And I thank you for your support, and I look forward to serving you for another term. The chief responsibility of the county clerk is the elections, and we handle all the elections for all the municipalities. There's 8 municipalities in Stoddard County. There's 1 village in Stoddard County, Village of Penderman, 10 school districts in Stoddard County, 7 townships, 6 road districts, 6 water districts. There's the sewer district, the ambulance district, and the health center. Now, all those political subdivisions have officials that are elected, and we handle the elections for all of those. We have made several improvements, I believe, to our election process. All of you that have voted in Stoddard County have used the iPad for your voter sign-up, and we found that that's been very successful, and we're glad to implement that, and we've got some very good comments about the iPad usage. Also in November of 2012, we used youth participants in our election, and we were able to, working through the Dexter School, to get youth to participate in our election process in 2012, and that seemed to work out very well, and we hope to do that again. We're always needing election judges, so if anyone would like to sign up as an election judge, certainly you'd be welcome to do that. In my past 4 years, we've had 2 audits. We've had a CPA audit, and last year we had our state audit, and the state audit is done every 2 years. We're happy to report that we've got a good rating on the state audit, and we were very pleased with that rating. Successful elections and successful audits cannot be done without a good staff, and we have a 3-person staff and myself at the county clerk's office, Virginia DeGroots, the deputy clerk, Debbie Smith is a deputy clerk, and Ginger Goodman is our deputy clerk and election coordinator. And I certainly want to give them the credit for the hard work they do, and let you know that it wouldn't be possible to operate the office without the experience of the staff. Are there any questions that you have for me as county clerk? I would like to say in closing that I do appreciate your support. You're welcome to our office at any time. There are many other functions we do in the county clerk's office. We pay all the bills for the county. We do the payroll for the county, the insurance, the retirement. We do the budget, and as Greg mentioned, the budget's coming up, and we're getting prepared to start our budget for 2015. We also work with all the political subdivisions on their tax levies, and all the tax levies have recently been submitted, and then we in turn give those to the county collector, and the tax bills are being printed. So a little bad news tonight is that here in a few weeks you'll be getting your tax statements. But we are blessed in Stoddard County. Financially, we're very sound. We have a good commission that is very in tune with the needs of the county, and I thank you for allowing me to serve. Thank you.
I guess I should have announced that Joe running unopposed, and then our next candidate, Recorder of Deeds, Kay Asbel, she's unopposed.
Thank you all for allowing me to be here tonight, and thank you all for inviting us. The voters of the county have allowed me to be the recorder for several years now, and I'm very grateful for that. I sure enjoy my job. We see all kinds of different people, and they have all kinds of different questions, and we try to help as best we can. when the commission started talking about building the new government building, I was a little thinking, I don't really need to move. We survived how we were, but I sure am glad we moved because it gave me the ability to grow because we had run out of room where we were. You can ask about any of the officials there that I was behind on technology, but I didn't have the room to grow with the technology. But I have a new KIP scanner that scans big plats and surveys that come in real handy for anybody that has anything. We have some gentlemen that are with the military that have come in with old papers that it scans them real well and even puts them on a thumb drive for them. That's what they like the best. We've also updated in our computer system. We've went online for e-recording. We were all skeptical of doing that, but we've done it. And we also have the web search out there that the public can use. We have lots of people that use that, PCA or Federal Land Bank, whichever one you want to call it, and several customers that use the e-recording side as well as the web search side. And I just kept doing things as we went along, and finally my girl said, are you going to stop? And I said, well, we're almost there. So, but we came up a long ways from where we used to be. And I just thank you all for letting me do that, and I appreciate your votes. Anybody have any questions? There's not a whole lot of questions to ask of me, really, because you can come in anytime and do that, call, whatever. We're always there to help you anytime you need to. Thank you all very much.
Next on the list is our prosecuting attorney, Mr. Russ Oliver, and he's unopposed.
Well, I am unopposed this year, but I want to take this opportunity to say thank you. First and foremost, I thank the Lord for my beautiful family and my wife, Jack and Emma, and all the sacrifices that you guys have made to make my ability to do this possible. The time that you've sacrificed away from me and all the other sacrifices that you've made, I can't thank you enough. And this whole board of people that are up here should all be commended. Public service is a sacrifice. All of their families should be commended for standing next to them, because it's really easy to stand up at a podium and say, I want to do this and I want to do that. It's a completely different thing to make the sacrifices that it takes to do the job well, and I think that everyone up here deserves a round of applause for their willingness to make that sacrifice. I'd like to thank each and every one of you for the faith that you've placed in me to protect our families from the predators of this world, to seek justice for our victims, and to make Stoddard County a safer and better place to live and raise our families. I'm very proud of the accomplishments that we've achieved in the last 4 years. Each and every jury trial that we've conducted over the last 4 years has resulted in a guilty verdict. This ranges from murderers to rapists to drug dealers and people charged with assaulting police officers and many more. Steve Rindleman, we obtained a guilty verdict and a conviction for Steve Rindleman. It's his third conviction for rape. He will now never step foot on the free world ever again. He's serving 2 life sentences without the possibility of parole, plus 163 years. Moses Grayson was convicted for rape. He's currently serving a 50-year term. We have sought and obtained lengthy sentences for predators who prey against our children. We've protected our Second Amendment right when a out-of-control Jefferson City bureaucracy decided that they could do whatever they wanted to do and infringe on the rights of concealed carry endorsement holders. And we took them to task. It took subpoenaing the governor of the state of Missouri, but we reversed the course of an out-of-control bureaucracy. We ended the synthetic drug epidemic that our county was experiencing. Our efforts resulted in the federal indictment of 11 people, the indictment of 4 different businesses, and the seizure of over $2 million in drug assets. The DEA said that our efforts were the catalyst that started them looking at and starting an operation that ended up being Operation Logjam, which was a nationwide sweep of synthetic drugs across this country. I do what I believe is right, and I let the chips fall where they're going to fall. I may not get it right every time, but every time that I do it because I think it's right. And without your support and without your help and your dedication to making our county a great county, I couldn't do what I do, and I thank each and every one of you. If there's any questions. Yes, sir.
That $2 million that's been brought in from the dope, how is it spent?
Well, it's currently in a federal seizure process. It's in the Department of Justice right now. What will happen is that the Department of Justice will take 20% of that money, and the remainder of that $2 million will then be distributed to the respective law enforcement agencies that actually worked on the case. We can't take, we were the folks that got it started. We did a lot of work on it, but there were a whole lot of other people that were very involved in it. The DEA of St. Louis worked hand in hand with us in that, including Arnold Police, Jefferson City Police, DEA out of Jefferson City, several St. Louis police units up there also assisted in this operation. The money was actually seized from a company in Boone County, actually in Columbia, and Boone County and the Columbia PD had extensive work in that as well. Basically, that $2 million will be divided among all those agencies that put forth all that effort. We took a lot of heat whenever that originally happened, but we were doing it on principle, and we stood firm in it. And in the end, we weren't really able to tell the details. As all these things are going on, we aren't able to tell those details about everything that's going on in Columbia and what's going to be happening. And so that was very difficult, but in the end, we achieved a very, very positive result, not only for our county, but for our state and our nation as well. And I can't take credit for that, but I can certainly say thank you to the DEA, thank you to St. Louis County Police, thank you to Arnold Police, thank you to the Boone County and the Columbia PD Police, but above all, I need to thank Sheriff Carl Hefner. He stood right there beside us, and without Sheriff Carl Hefner's leadership and his guidance in this, it would not have been possible. And so if you see Sheriff Carl Hefner, you need to tell him thanks as well. So, yes, ma'am.
I don't understand if somebody has been with this rate that you're talking about, and then you send them up for 160-something years. Why take my tax dollars and keep a dude like that in prison? Let's do something to get rid of him.
Well, I'm sure that a lot of people in this room would wholeheartedly agree with you, but we have a legislature that puts certain laws in place, and my job isn't to make those laws. My job is to enforce it. We got the absolute maximum that we possibly could get on that case. There is a certain enhancement that we had to put on that case. There's a predatory sexual offender enhancement and a persistent sexual offender enhancement, which gave us the ability to get a life without parole sentence on that. The way that we went about it, we got the absolute maximum that we could get, and if we could get another 163 years or another life sentence without the possibility of parole to make sure that he has no chance to have another victim, we would have done that. We work within the framework of what the legislature has given us, and we did the best that, and actually obtained the maximum that we possibly could obtain.
Well, I understand that, but it's still tax dollars coming out of hardworking people to keep somebody up like that.
I agree, but yeah, and I can't disagree with you that whenever a person has committed 3 rapes in their life and not minor instances of it, I mean serious offenses, There are states that have additional punishments. Our state's not one that does. Okay, thank you all.
What I would like to say is, I've been with Farm Bureau several years, and I've been talked into doing this a few times. But this has been the best one that I have ever been to, and I think it's because of our people, how dedicated they are, and the jobs they're doing, and the jobs that they want to do if elected. And we owe you folks a lot. And what I would like to say is, would you please stay and join with us? The ladies brought some cookies and coffee, and we might visit a while. You're very welcome to stay as long as you like. And please continue the good work, and hopefully this country could be turned around somewhat to what it is. Thank you very much. Let's give them a great hand.